Hello, everyone, and welcome to our match reaction show on Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzie, and I'm your host for this evening. Liverpool continued their great form in the Champions League as they produced a professional performance to beat Girona 1-0. So let's discuss the key moments of the game, and then we'll follow up with the player ratings. This is also a calling show, so if you'd like to come on and have your say, the link has been pinned in the live chat, so feel free to join, and we'll get you on after the player ratings. So let's discuss the first half. In the opening minutes of the game, Joe Gomez produced a close-range header from a corner kick. He hits it, unfortunately, straight at the keeper. Now, honestly, I think he should have scored and probably have broken his duck and scoring his first goal for the club. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be. But I'm praying and hoping that Joe Gomez finally gets his first goal for the team. Just got to keep trying. Gravenberch then has a moment where he spins the Girona player in the middle of the park, hits a through ball towards Darwin Núñez, who goes through on goal, hits a first-time shot with his left foot, but Gazzaniga does well to parry the ball away. But then it was Girona's time to join the party as they hit Liverpool on the counter-attack. Gutierrez hits a low cross. Daley Blind was in the 6-yard box, completely misses the ball. But then the ball arrives to Brian Gill, who has a shot from the right side of the box, saved by Alisson in the end. Liverpool then hit Girona on the counter-attack through Mohamed Salah, but he gets caught in two minds, whether to shoot or to pass Núñez, who was driving into the box. In the end, it goes between the player and the goal, and nothing comes from it. Brian Gill has another chance as he's through on goal, but he slips at the worst time and is unable to hit a clean shot, although Alisson had to get off his line and make a crucial block. Moments later, Gutierrez has a powerful strike from the edge of the box, parried away by Alisson. And Alisson was certainly kept busy in his return to first team action. He makes another save before throwing the ball towards Mohamed Salah in order to create a counter attack for Liverpool. So Bosley hits a cross that gets a slight deflection, but still finds Darwin Núñez in the box. He tries to head the ball down towards a Liverpool shirt, but the ball gets cleared away. For me, he was literally a few yards away from goal. He should have gone for goal himself with a header and would have had a great chance of scoring. Liverpool then hit Girona with yet another counter-attack. Guess this game is full of counter-attacks, to be honest. This time, Salah hits the through ball towards Darwin Núñez, who's through on goal. This time, he's attacking the right side of the box, and he hits it straight at the keeper. And that was the first half. In the second half, Girona wasted no time as Danjuma has a left-footed strike in the first minute of the half, parried away by Alisson. As I mentioned before, Alisson was certainly kept on his toes in this game, and we certainly got our money's worth. Danjuma then has another chance, skips past Joe Gomez with a cheeky nutmeg, drives into the box with his, but he has a left-footed shot that was wild and it goes high and wide. And for me, that was a huge opportunity for Girona to take the lead. But then this was the turning point of the game. As Liverpool were awarded a penalty, no appeal from the players or any sort of disgruntled players from the Girona team, appealing against that challenge. VAR asked the ref to go to the screens and have a look at the replay. As Van der Beek challenges Luis Diaz in the box. And look, I'll be honest, and I said it during my watch along, that was not a penalty. Yes, it was a clumsy challenge or tackle from Van der Beek as he stamps on Luis Diaz's heel. I watched it again, I still don't believe it was a penalty. So Liverpool were, quite frankly, very lucky to get that decision. Mohamed Salah steps up and smashes the ball in the corner to make it 1-0. And that was pretty much it. Overall, let's be honest, a poor performance from the Reds. Let's not be around the bush. I don't buy the fact that Liverpool had to change the squad. I know we had 19 players selected, but it doesn't change the first team lineup. It was pretty much the strongest team that we could have fielded in this fixture. And also playing away from home in a smaller pitch can have its challenges, I guess. But look, in the end, Liverpool did enough to get over the line and continue their winning streak in the competition. That's 6 wins out of 6, top of the Champions League table. Liverpool are on a rise. And look, for me, I've pretty much secured qualification. So the next games that are coming up, I would like Arne Slot to rotate the team a little bit more than he did today. It was still a strong team. Now I feel like we just need to try and focus on other competitions and give other players a run up, which I think is the right time to do it. With us approaching December with a lot of fixtures coming up, we need to make use of our squad a little bit better. So that's my match review of Liverpool, or should I say Girona versus Liverpool. So let's move on and do the player ratings. So let's share the graphics with you guys. And here we go. So let's start with Alisson. Yeah. Poor guy really had to up the levels. He thought he was going to get a quiet game, just, get used to, getting used to being on the pitch again. Yeah, he was active, to say the least, throughout the whole game. Made a lot of saves in the first half. So he was kept busy, didn't do anything wrong. It was great to see Alisson back in action. And that's no shade on Keller, who's also done a fantastic job during his absence. But Alisson shows why he's one of the best goalkeepers. He was just active, even at times where, they didn't really have any shots that I thought, oh, that's a world-class save. But they were solid saves all the way around, kept his concentration. And, when you've been out of action for quite a long time, just because goalkeepers aren't running up and down the pitch, it's a different level of concentration that you need to have on the pitch. So for a goalkeeper, it's a different mind game. But I feel like he was fantastic in his return. He's been out for about 6 weeks or so now. So fair play to him. I feel like he definitely came in. Does any rust in his game? He's definitely smoothed that around. And now he's pretty much ready for the bigger games coming up. So we've got Fulham this weekend. So for me, he should be starting in that one as well. So in terms of his rating, he definitely deserves a high score for me. He gets a 9 out of 10. Feel free to drop your scores in the chat as well. Let me know what you think, because I feel like our scores might differ. I think everyone has different perceptions of what was presented or produced on the pitch. But I'll give you my opinion to why I've given certain scores for certain players. So let's start with Trent. I don't think he had the best of games, to be fair. From an attacking point of view, he produced some nice passes, some decent through balls here and there, especially for Salah, who had a decent half. But we'll speak about Salah a little bit more in detail later on. But I think defensively, he looked a bit shaky. There were quite a few moments where the players got past him with quite a bit of ease, if I'm being honest. He wasn't really defensively sound as he has been this season. I remember that one moment in the second half where I believe the players called Porto just nutmegged him and went flying past him, and Trent didn't even jog back. So not his best game, to be honest with you. I think if Conor Bradley was available, then it would have been a bit of squad rotation. But no, that's no excuse for not having a great game for Trent. So for me, in terms of his rating, I'll give him a 7 out of 10. Now, Joe Gomez, I actually thought he had a good game, and I feel like a lot of people will agree or strongly disagree with my opinion there. I was quite impressed with him from the first half. Obviously, he had his chance to score the goal. Probably should have scored, if I'm being honest. He headed it straight at the keeper. It was only a few yards out. But generally, throughout the game, I felt like he was quite consistent. He was good on the ball. There were quite a few moments where he was pressed quite heavily, but kept his composure, didn't give the ball away. Yes, there were a couple of times where players got past him, but nothing that presented any trouble to the team. I didn't feel like when the player went past John Gomez, we weren't going to do anything. He made crucial blocks in certain parts of the game. I know there's that one moment where a player nutmegged him. That was Danjuma in the opening minutes of the second half. But other than that, players didn't really get past him like that. And I think because Trent wasn't on his A game either, he probably had to do more work to cover his ground at certain times. So I actually thought Joe Gomez had a good game. I don't feel like there was too much to really, discredit his game. I thought he had a good performance, better performance in comparison to the Newcastle game. I don't think he had a good game for that one. And so for Joe Gomez, I'm going for 8 out of 10. I feel like that's going to be a wild one for some, but that's how I feel. Virgil van Dijk, for me, had a decent game. Didn't really showcase his passing range as much. He was like very, not slow on the ball, but he was very, taking his time and just doing sideway passes. Didn't really produced those long ping passes. Defensively was fine. I don't feel like he was troubled as much, but nothing really stood out for me to give him a very high rating. And that's just me being honest. So for Van Dijk, I think Joe Gomez just edges it, in my opinion. I think Joe Gomez stood out a little bit more. He made more blocks. So for me, that was a bit more where, you analyze the game and you see that he did a bit more in terms of impact from a defensive point of view. So I'm going to give Virgil van Dijk a 7.5 out of 10. Robertson actually thought had a good game. What really stood out for me was his defending in terms of one-on-one duels, and there were times where he covered the centre backs quite well, made a good few clearances as well. So no, I thought he had a really solid game. From an attacking point of view, he definitely helped out in terms of crossing and distribution. Yeah, it didn't have his best games in terms of finding certain players. There was that one cross I remember where the cross was actually perfect, but I think he didn't look at the situation because there's about 3 players that were closer to the near post and he ended up hitting the cross on the far post. So, things like that, you still need to, keep your head up and see, who to ping the ball towards. So generally, I feel like he had a good game. I was quite impressed with Robertson today. So I'll give him an 8 out of 10. Gravenberch for me had a much better performance than he did against Newcastle. Really improved. Started bringing out the half turns, which it's always a joy to watch. Did that quite a few times. Applied some good through balls, especially towards Darwin Núñez. I thought he was really good. Defensively was fine as well. Passing, yeah, made a few passes that missed here and there, but no one's perfect, so it was always going to happen. But I thought he had a very strong game. So for me, I'm going to give Gravenberch at 8.5. I don't know if it's late night and I'm just being generous, but I feel like he had a very good game. Now, this is where the realism comes. I thought Curtis Jones was poor today. I don't think he was at his level, to be honest with you. In the first half, I thought he was quite anonymous. He didn't really get on the ball as much. Second half, he certainly got involved more, had better touches. I remember him making one sort of mazy run in the middle of the park, and unfortunately got tackled, so wasn't able to produce a shot in the end. But generally, had a very quiet half. Second half, definitely improved, got involved a little bit more. But overall, an average performance based on his recent form. Because I feel like recently he's been in such good, rich vein of form. So for me, it dipped slightly in this fixture. So I'm giving him a 6 out of 10. Now, Szoboszlai, I thought he had a decent game. He definitely brought energy to the field. I wanted Javier to sign this fixture, but I do understand why Szoboszlai was selected. His way of playing, he's tenacious, he's pressing from the front. So he's definitely causing the opposition havoc because they have less time on the ball when Szoboszlai is charging around them. So generally had a good game. Passing range was good. Wasn't able to create any clear-cut chances for himself. So that's something I feel like he really needs to improve in his game. Technically, he's not playing as a number 10, if I'm being brutally honest. I feel like in recent weeks, I've noticed we've started to revert to a 4-3-3 where we're playing more with a single pivot. So that's Gravenberch in the number 6, and then Jones and Szoboszlai have a bit more of a free role. So they do alternate in terms of what size they're playing on. So he's still playing like a number 8 for me. So, or an 8.5, how you want to describe it tactically, because he's not quite an 8, but he's a bit more advanced in certain positions of the game. So for me, good solid performance. Yeah, he had that moment where he produced that cross towards Darwin Núñez, so it definitely helps into the correct counter-attacks. But I don't think he was outstanding where I have to give him a very high rating. So for Szoboszlai, I'm going to give him a 7.5 out of 10. 7.5. There you go. And let's move over to Mohamed Salah. I thought Mohamed Salah, from an attacking point of view in terms of shooting, I don't think he got himself in many goal-scoring chances. However, I do feel like he produced a lot of through balls, especially for Darwin Núñez. So he was definitely more creative rather than being a destroyer, or not destroyer, that's the wrong word. That's for number 6. More of a killer in front of goal. He didn't really have any goal-scoring chances, in my opinion. So generally had a decent game. Wasn't heavily involved in the build-up or Didn't attack the fullback as much as he has been doing in recent weeks, but still had a decent game, in my opinion. And obviously, the penalty, fantastic finish. We were very lucky to get that penalty. It was not a penalty at all, in my opinion. So for Mohamed Salah, he gets the same rating as Sabozla. I give him a 7.5 out of 10. Luis Diaz, I was slightly disappointed with his performance, to be honest. Very quiet than how he normally plays. And when he was on a run on the left-hand side, it was very predictable. Quite a few times he overplayed it where there was one or two touches too many and the ball's gone out of play or was gone for a goal kick. So, yeah, not his best performance. I feel like when he moved centrally, he had more touches and he was better on the ball. Out wide, I just feel like it was too predictable. And then the passing with Robertson with the overlapping runs, it was always going to lay it off to him. So I feel like there's needs to be some parts of his game where he needs to continue being unpredictable at times. Where, if he's come in field, try and do 1-2s around the box or lay it off to Robertson when the team are least expecting it. So add a bit more variation to his game because I feel like when he forward, so it's definitely a better account of himself when he's playing through the middle, even though that's not even his natural. I still feel like there's rooms of improvement for Luis Diaz in his game, so I don't think he had the best of game. So for his rating, I'll give him a 6 out of 10. I thought he was like Curtis Jones, where didn't really get involved that much, but then when he did, I don't feel like he was as impactful. So that's my rating for Luis Diaz. And Darwin Núñez, I think he showed a better account of himself than he did in the previous game against Newcastle. Definitely tried his best in the first half where he was attacking from the front, had some decent chances. The one where Szoboszlai hit a long cross from the right-hand side, then it took a deflection off the player, of the Girona player, and then it came down. I just felt like maybe because there wasn't a lot of pace on the ball, he thought it might just be best to just head it down so someone else can finish it. I feel like he should have gone for power and head it himself. He was only a few yards away from goal, but maybe it was just his body positioning where he thought he didn't feel confident of doing that. And I feel like today you did see that he just seemed to lack that self-confidence. He was overthinking a bit too much at times. With Darwin Núñez, he's an instinctive player, so he just needs to do his thing. I know he's not been getting good sort of, I can't say feedback because we don't really speak directly with him, but he's not getting a good response within the Liverpool fan base. And look, I'll put my hand up. I'm one of them as well. I've been critical of his recent performances, but my opinion of a player doesn't go off just by what I think of the player altogether. I go off by game. So today I feel like he was much better. He had that chance where Salah threaded the through ball, and I feel like he just needed to kind of dink the ball a little bit, but he went for a shot flat on the ground, and the keeper ended up saving it with his leg. And in the second half, I don't feel like he was involved as much. I don't feel like he had any chances on goal. So not the best of afternoons for him. So yeah, I wasn't overly pleased with his performance, but he did try to press on fire. I think he had a better first half than second. So fortunately, I'm going for a 4 out of 10. That's my rating for Darwin Núñez. And that is my player rating for the first 11. Now, in terms of man of the match, it goes without saying who's got the highest score there. So you've got, where are we? Alisson Becker. So Alisson Becker is the man of the match. So drop a comment and let me know what you guys think of my ratings. Have I gone a bit overboard with some players, or I've been a bit harsh with Darwin Núñez getting a 4 out of 10? Feel free to drop a comment and let me know your thoughts. On the subs, there's only 3 that were involved today. So Cody Gakpo came on. Darwin Núñez, Cody Gakpo there, and then he replaced Jones in the lineup. If my internet allows me to find the player. Oh, got a bit happy there. There you go. There he is. And then the third player was Endo. Yes, Endo for Diaz. I really, I really feel for Endo. He only comes on for like 5 minutes, so yeah, should come on a lot earlier. But definitely not Arne Slot's cup of tea, unfortunately. There we are. Endo's right there. So let's start with Cody Gap. Actually, let me put the players in their correct positions because he looks a bit weird right now. So we've got. Let's put them here and do this. We'll just leave it at that. So, Cody Gakpo, for me, very quiet cameo. Didn't really have. I don't remember him doing much. To be fair, I do remember him having a couple of moments on the left hand side where he cut in, tried to whip in across towards Mohamed Salah, but he was in the offside position. So not a very impactful cameo from Cody Gakpo, unfortunately. So yeah, I can't really give him a high rating. So I'll give him an average rating of 5 out of 10. I don't think he was impactful as he has been in recent weeks. I'm not saying he has to score goals for me to notice him, but didn't really get on the ball as much. So 5 out of 10 for Gakpo. Same for Harvey Elliott. I feel like us fans are getting a bit impatient with Harvey because we're like, oh, we really want to see him in action. But I feel like the cameo today showed he's not fully fit, in my opinion. He's still trying to regain that match fitness. So I hope Arne Slot plays him in terms of bringing him on off the bench a little bit more. It's only his second performance in the last 2-3 weeks that he's actually come on the pitch. So if he's able to get more cameos, whether it's for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, that will benefit him more rather than 5-10 minutes. That's not going to help anyway, in my opinion. So he needs to slowly be embedded in the team and find that rhythm once again. And once he's fully up to speed, then we can kind of have that conversation of him starting certain games. Still feel like Szoboszlai is the better suited player in the way we play, but Elliott is going to be a great asset for us against certain oppositions, like the low blocks that we continue to face on a weekly basis. He is that type of player that can unlock them through his intricate passing. So for me, he definitely has a big role to play this season. It's just biding his time and making sure he's fully fit and he doesn't, pick up any knocks on the way. So today, not involved as much, not a lot of touches. So I'll give him a rating of 5 out of 10 as well. And poor Endo, he literally only came on. I think he came on 87 minutes. Only played for like 5 or 6 minutes. So unfortunately, can't really give him much of a rating. I'm not going to give him a low rating. I think that's unfair. So I'll give him a rating of 5 out of 10. So that is my player rating. So what I'll do now, I'll go through some of the comments and we can discuss together. So first comment from Abdul Rahim. Big up Abdul as always. He says, hi Ozzy, assalamu alaikum. How you all doing? Like, comment, share, subscribe. You never walk on. Many thanks. Wa alaikum salam to you, Abdul. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, we're all doing good. I hope you are doing well. And his second comment is, Darwin Núñez is finished at this club. Needs to be sold. I totally agree. Until Darwin Núñez is not sold, he will still get my backing. But I would definitely be honest and critical of his performances whenever I watch him play. So I agree. I do feel like it's time to part ways with Darwin Núñez next summer. I feel like the club just needs to move on. He needs to move. And I feel like if he was to move to the Spanish league or the Italian league, I think he'd do really well in those competitions, or should I say those leagues, because it suits his skill set a bit better. I feel like the Premier League is a bit too quick and frantic for him. I feel like he's used to playing football where he's given a bit more time on the ball. In the Premier League, it's more physical, it's intense, it's 100 miles per hour. It's not, doesn't really suit his game. I know we all give him that nickname of being Mr. Chaos, but Mr. Chaos has his limits as well. He can't be doing it in a game that is faster than what impact he brings to the pitch. So no, I do co-sign it. I do believe that his time has come where I feel like parting ways is the best thing for the player and for the club. So we can go forward and recruit another striker to help us lead the line and obviously bring success to the club. So yeah, I do agree with that comment there. Daz said, big up Daz as always. Thank you so much for tuning in. And then Daz says, can we mix it up next match now or one after? I feel like the way we performed in recent weeks, we've played certain ways depending on the opposition. So I do feel like we can mix it up. I just feel like a performance like today, you might get a certain reaction from certain fans within our fan base because they're expecting, champagne football every time. Against some oppositions, it's just not possible due to the fact that we didn't play weekend, so you're probably thinking that we should be fully fit. But obviously, when you're playing in a stadium where the pitch is quite small, it's different atmosphere. It does play a part. And Girona, fair play to him, they are a very technical team, so they might not be at the highest level, but they play proper football. They didn't really play a low block. They were very defensive, yes, but they did try to play football and they really hit us on the counter attacks on a number of occasions. So I feel like this team under Arne Slot has a good blend where we do switch it up when required. So this performance and even the Red Bull Leipzig one, for me, I would regard those performances as professional performances because we won at our best, but we did enough to get the win. And sometimes you do need to do that. That is a sign of an elite team or true champions, in my opinion. So I'm not mad at that. I feel like you have to look into a situation. And look, a lot of my ratings, I've given Alisson 9, but the back four, they probably got slightly higher ratings than the performance or the game will suggest, but that is because you have to take a bit of context. We kept a clean sheet, but at the same time, I thought individually they did really well in certain occasions. So no one's got 10 out of 10s in this team, so you have to always take that into consideration. But I feel like we're more tactically astute under Arne Slot than in comparison to Jurgen Klopp and previous coaches because we've always adapted in games as well, rather than just having an approach before a game, which is credit to the coaching staff that we're flexible when it comes to different tactical approaches, and that shows that we're very hard to beat, and we've showcased that. We've kept so many clean sheets, more than what we probably have over the years. So for me, it's quite good that we are able to adapt in certain scenarios. Abdul Rahim's comment is, we need to beat Fulham in the Premier League, Southampton in the EFL Cup, Tottenham in the EPL, Leicester EPL, West Ham, and Manchester United EPL. So yeah, lots of games coming up very, very soon. All winnable games, if I'm being brutally honest, but you can't just base that based on teams on paper. I do feel like we got to take it one game at a time and see what we do. But right now, so far, so good. No sort of huge complaints of how Liverpool are doing so far today and this season as well. And Abdul presented his ratings, so let's see how it aligns with mine. Alisson 8.5, Robertson 7, Van Dijk 7.5, Gomez 7.5, Trent 7, Jones 7, Grunberg 7.5, Szoboszlai 7, Diaz 7.5, Nunes 5, Salah 8, Gakpo 6.5, Elliott 7, and Endo 6. So quite similar. I think maybe I was a bit harsh on the subs, but generally it's not too far off. So you big up yourself, Abdul, for that. And his other comment is, Liverpool must improve their ability to convert scoring opportunities with Salah, Nunes, Diaz, Szoboszlai, Grunberg, Jones, Gakpo, Jota, Chiesa, McAllister, and secure victories every game. That's definitely something we have to improve. I feel like I'm not just going to pinpoint certain players, or it feels like I have an agenda. Trust me, I don't have any agenda with any Liverpool players right now. But with Darwin Núñez, he's quite wasteful in front of goals. Luis Diaz, there's moments where I feel like he needs to be a bit more clinical or try and release the ball a bit quicker. There's been occasions where there's openings for a player who's through on goal and he's not found the pass. So then it results to taking snapshots where it's not really on. On paper, it looks like you've taken a shot on target, but it wasn't really a great chance created. Salah, for me, has probably been very clinical out of all of our strikers. Jota should be coming back. He's fully fit now, so he should be available next game. So Jota the Shota back in action will definitely help us get some more goals. Szoboszlai, 100%. Even though I really rate Szoboszlai, as you all know, but his shooting game has really dipped this season. That's something he needs to bring up to gear because that's one of his main assets, one of his key assets as a player, one of his strong points that really made him stood out over the years in the Bundesliga and in international football as well. So he definitely needs to up his game. And I know he's probably working harder in the team in comparison to when he plays for Hungary or when he played at Red Bull Leipzig, but you've still got to find a way to adapt because I feel like as much as you're pressing for the team, there will be times where you're driving the ball and, you've had opportunities to shoot, but you've decided to go for the safer option. So that's something he needs to adapt to his game, and hopefully, I'm quite confident that he will be able to produce more goals this season. And to the other players that you mentioned, yeah, everyone's got a role to play, and you've not mentioned any of the names that I'm going to allude to now. Defenders need to chip into the goals. Well, Van Dijk had about 3 headers against Newcastle the other day, where he should have buried those chances. So there are chances, and Konate is such a big presence in set pieces, but he doesn't get enough goals. Joe Gomez, he still hasn't got his goal, but today could have been a moment where he broke his duck. So we have players all across the pitch that can certainly contribute to the team. So in terms of attacking players, yes, they need to be a bit more clinical, but I don't think that would be heavy criticism on them. I still feel like we've done well in terms of getting the goals, but you can always improve. But yes, there's certain players that need to improve a lot more because they're getting 4 or 5 chances and still not converting. That's not good enough at this level of the game. You know, when you're playing for Liverpool, you'll probably be just about to get 1 or 2 chances against, same level of position. So when you get that chance, you got to convert. So no, so definitely room for improvement for our attacking players. And Daz has said, should he rest Nunes versus Fulham or play and risk Jota against Southampton? Big question. I would probably play Darwin Nunes. Obviously, we'll do the match preview in more detail on Thursday night. But I wouldn't start Jota. I think it's way too soon. I don't know in terms of, obviously he's fully fit. It was a rib injury from what we know, so it's not something related to his running. But obviously, it's still part of his body, so there will be impact in terms of how he'll play. So I wouldn't rush him to start in this fixture. I think the Southampton one makes more sense for Jota to start. So in this game against Fulham, Nunes will probably most likely lead the line, in my opinion. So we'll see. We'll cover the game in more detail when we do our match preview on Thursday. And Abdul says Liverpool FC needs left back, centre back, DM, and number 9. So yeah, I couldn't agree more, Abdul. Those 4 positions are definitely areas that we need to strengthen. The number 9 will definitely be addressed in the summer. No way we'd address that in the January window unless something comes up where a player is available for cheap or on loan. We don't really make loan signings, but you never know. If someone's available on loan, maybe there's an opportunistic signing for us to make. But look, I hope Liverpool are able to get some additional players in the January window. I'll be honest, I'm very hopeful when I say that out loud because I don't think we will get anyone in January. But that doesn't mean I can't voice my opinion. I do believe if we're able to get a midfielder at least, it only strengthens our position going forward because that's the area I feel like we're not blessed with a lot of options. If 1 or 2 players go, there is a dip in quality. So for me, we need to try and address that position. And a left back probably won't be addressed either. I would say in January, I think that's something they'll profile for next summer and bring in someone that's the long-term successor for Robertson and probably replaces Tsimikas in the team because I do believe Robertson won't be sold. I think he'll be kept on. And in recent weeks, to be fair, he has improved. So yeah, we'll see what goes with that. But yeah, I do think a DM is a must in this January window. The other positions, you of course you'd say yes because we do need to improve in certain areas. But I think DM is the one. It's a necessity for us to really add to our squad. It gives us more quality, adds another number to our squad, and I feel like it covers us, with rotation, with more games coming up in the second half of the season. So let's see. FSG might surprise us, but I don't have any high hopes with regards to the transfer activity in January. And Abdul says, when is Konate, Macaisa, Tsimikas, Chiesa, and Jota back? So Konate is out for 5 to 6 weeks. So he picked up his injury about a couple of weeks ago now. So he'll be returning early January. And McAllister, it was just suspended for this game. He was suspended in the Premier League and he's also suspended for the Champions League. So both of those suspensions have been, I guess, uplifted, I guess. Obviously, the Premier League one, it will move on to the next fixture. So he won't be available, I don't think, for Fulham. But he'll be available for the upcoming fixtures. So for McAllister, it's not injury related. It's just due to suspension, picking up a high volume of yellow cards. Simic has an ankle injury, but I'm not too sure in terms of his return. Not a lot of updates with regards to that. So hopefully he's not a big one. Hopefully he's back in the coming weeks because he is needed. We do need to rotate Robertson. He's been playing consecutive games, so it's something we need to address in the coming weeks. Chiesa made his return, played for the under-21s and scored a goal. He was scheduled to be in the squad for this fixture against Girona. Unfortunately, he's picked up an illness, so probably just a bit of man flu, nothing more, nothing less. So he should be back in another week or so. So I'll probably expect to see him in action in the Southampton fixture if I was to predict his return. Jota apparently is fully fit. He's available, so he should be in contention for selection this weekend for Fulham. But as I mentioned with Daz's comment earlier on, I think he could be on the bench, but I think I would rather he start against Southampton. I don't want it to be where we rush him too soon, because at this stage it's not required for us to play Jota from the starting position. We can kind of slowly embed him back to the team, and then once he's hitting the ground running, then we can start him more on a regular basis. And as I said, what trophies are Liverpool going to win this season? This is so hard to say because Premier League we're at the top, Champions League we're at the top. We've got the Carabao Cup quarterfinal coming up against Southampton, and then we've got the FA Cup round starting with Accrington Stanley. So at this stage, we have the chance of winning all of the competitions right now. Am I saying we're going to win the quad? I'm not going to be that shameless to say it right now. Maybe close to the time you're here, but I do believe we'll win the league. I just have a gut feeling that we will win and lift our 20th Premier League, or should I say league trophy, because people correct me say you've only won one Premier League, but in terms of league titles, it'll be our 20th, and we will be joint with Manchester United in terms of their achievements. Champions League, I feel like I'd probably say we'll do really well in the Champions League. After watching the games in the competition, I don't fear anyone. Obviously, we beat Real Madrid, and someone say yes, they were not the strongest Real Madrid team. Yes, you're probably correct there, but we still beat them, and they still had Mbappe, they still had top players, Bellingham, Camavinga. They had all these players playing, so they still had a very strong unit there. So I would just say that Liverpool are probably one of the favourites for the Champions League. We haven't lost yet, 6 out of 6 wins. So yeah, I think we have a great chance to win the Champions League. Even the Carabao Cup, I really feel like we could go on and win that competition with the players that we have in our squad. We've got, and I think people have come to realise it now, we have a great squad. Our second 11 is of good quality, so there's not a huge drop. When one player's out, the player that comes in is of adequate quality. What I mentioned earlier on about our midfielders, when you have one or two injuries, then for me the quality is still good players, but if they're required, if like Endo and Jones are required to play 10 games straight, are they able to perform at the highest level? I think they can, but you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, because if they pick up an injury, and look, you're probably thinking that's a bit far-fetched, 3 midfielders being injured. We've had seasons where we've had a centre-back department completely wiped out, 4 injuries there, and we had to do makeshift players with Fabinho and Henderson, if you remember, all those years ago. So anything can happen when it comes to injuries, unfortunately. So you have to be prepared for those type of situations. So I feel like we have a great squad. So right now, the league, I'll probably say with a bit more chest, I feel like we'll win it. The Champions League, I feel like it will just depend on who we face in the next round. So I feel like that's going to have a key role, because with the Champions League, whether you like it or not, luck does play a part in your path to winning the trophy. So we'll see how that goes. But Carabao Cup, I am confident. I mentioned it earlier in the season that I'd be happy with a league, with a cup and a top 4 finish. I think we can definitely achieve that. So my expectations are being surpassed right now in terms of what's happening. But let's see. We've got to keep our feet on the ground. Nothing's been won yet. But we've just had a fantastic opening few months in the season, and long may it continue. Hopefully, we can keep the ball rolling, and we'll be successful at the end of the season. That says Aka, I think he means Maka, back for Southampton. Abdul, so yeah, he'll be unavailable for the Fulham game, but he'll return for the next game against Southampton in the EFL Cup, also known as the Carabao Cup. And Adil says, when is Trent, Salah, and Van Dijk when is Trent, Salah, and Van Dijk contract update? So the latest that we've heard is that I think all three players have been offered new contract extensions. What does that mean? Does that mean it's going to get accepted? Well, if they've been presented with contracts, it normally means that whatever discussions they've had is on paper now. So let's see. I can't say with a lot of confidence that these players will extend. I'm praying and hoping they will, but we'll probably find in the next 2-3 weeks. Hopefully before Jan, because once it starts January, for me, that's when stress levels get a little bit higher because you've got teams across the world that can have pre-contract agreements with these players. They're free to discuss terms with teams outside of England. So no, let's see. That's the latest right now in the last couple of days that Trent, Salah, and Van Dijk have been offered new contracts. So hopefully we'll get some concrete news or some official announcements in the coming weeks. And Abdul says, what do you think about the ownership of FSG? So with my answer, I don't want to sound like I'm on the fence, but I'll just say it how it is. I do like how the way they operate business in terms of acquiring players based on data metrics. I feel like that is important. That is the way how the modern game is played now. You know, a lot of clubs use that sort of technology and facility to acquire certain players. However, Liverpool have been in positions over the years where we've been at the top of our game. We've won Champions Leagues, we've won Premier Leagues. And our downfall has been that the owners have not backed the manager when we're in a strong position. And that is, for me, a sign of owners that are there simply to generate revenue. So they're more business focused rather than having a bit of compassion about the team in terms of being successful. Which sounds crazy because if you own a football club and your team's successful, you generate more money, right? But for these guys, most of the revenue that comes through is through marketing and advertising and sponsorship deals with other brands. So that's where a lot of the revenue comes from. Then you have merchandise and all that sort of stuff. So I think they're satisfied with that sort of income happening. But for a sports team, it needs to be where, you know, all the sectors coming on the pitch. And I don't feel like they have shown ambition. And I will use this word a lot in my shows because I think they lack ambition as owners. And, you know, some fans will disagree with me, but it's the proof is in the pudding. They haven't shown ambitions over the years. If they sign 2 players in the January window, a centre back and a DM, for example, that's showing ambition because you know we're in a very strong position right now. And if we're adding more players and more quality to our team, we're in a stronger position and could have a possible stronger chance of going for all of the trophies. Because over the years, we're the team that, you know, a lot of teams can't say it, but we're the team that actually has been very close to win the quad. Do you remember when we were literally in like 2 weeks, we were close to winning the Premier League and the Champions League, and unfortunately, it didn't happen. But it might have been because we had certain injuries and players were overworked and burnt out, especially under Klopp's regime, where players had to, you know, really play 100 miles per hour every game, and it has a toll on their body. So if we had a bigger squad to rotate a little bit more, the outcome would have been different. So as owners, I like the approach in terms of acquiring players, but I feel like they lack ambition. I don't think they do it enough. And there's been times where we need players added to the squad and they haven't done it. There's been times where we were screaming out for backup left back. It took them 2-3 years. A number 6, we've been asking for number 6 for 2-3 years. So this is the thing that really frustrates me about the ownership. They just never deliver when we need additions to our squad, and that is quite frustrating for me. So I'm not completely FSG in or FSG out. I just feel like I'll take the good and the bad from their ownership. And right now, you know, Arne Slot is making them look amazing because that's probably one of the things they've done really well. They've appointed a manager who I wasn't, you know, fully aware of, but he's been a breath of fresh air and he has delivered on a different scale that I did not expect. And the speed in terms of how he's just come in and got the team playing, and where, you know, defensively sound. We're playing different type of football, but we're winning games. It's amazing to see. So a lot of people will say, well, he's been blessed with a very strong squad, but just because you have a strong squad or a good set of players, they might not fit the coach's philosophy. So I think FSG have done well to appoint the right coach to take us forward. But I feel like when it comes to player acquisitions, it's not, they haven't done enough. And when I say player acquisitions, I don't mean, give me players that are like 100 million. And, I'm not asking for big fee players. I'm just asking for players or positions that need to be addressed. There are positions where we don't have a lot of players in our team. And that's something that hasn't been, addressed over the years. So, that's my view on FSG. Might be slightly on the fence, but, I'll give them credit when it's due, but then I'll definitely say it how it is when it needs to be done. And Abdul also asked, what do I think about Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards? Okay, so Michael Edwards, as in the first regime, I think he was really good in terms of what he brought to the table. But then obviously I feel like with more success, it came where I feel like he got more power in the end. And that didn't bode well with Klopp. So there was definitely a breakdown of communication and their relationship really got affected. So that was a shame. I don't know how that ended. But, in terms of his track record, obviously he's acquired some good players for us. This time around, obviously, he hasn't done much, to be fair. His main responsibility of this sort of second regime at the club was that he was supposed to acquire a new club. That hasn't been done. They were in talks to have Bordeaux as a potential club under FSG. That never happened. As there was some speculation about Lyon, which, could be the case. If that is something that's possible, I think that's actually a good move. And he's appointed Richard Hughes, which I will elaborate on now. I don't think he was the right sporting director for us. There was nothing for me to suggest that he was the guy that we needed, because his track record, I didn't really see anything to suggest that he's going to help us acquire good players or anything of that nature. He managed to get Chiesa, but I don't think it was an impossible deal due to the fact that there wasn't a lot of interest in the player. He was pretty much frozen out at Juventus. So it wasn't a hard deal to muster, if I'm being honest. So quite frankly, Michael Edwards hasn't done anything since he returned. Obviously, in his first regime or era at the club, yeah, he did fantastic work into acquiring good players at a good rate and pretty much showcase how it's done in terms of recruiting players, because you've got teams like Manchester United who are splashing the cash and not getting the rewards, whereas Michael Edwards showed the measured approach of using data and thorough scouting to acquire certain players. So definitely deserves his credit. But right now, I can't really base too much opinion on Michael Edwards. Richard Hughes sounds harsh for my part. I think he's a bit of a fraud. I don't feel like he is Liverpool quality, in my opinion. He's only got the job because he's best mates with Michael Edwards. So, yeah, there it is. I said it. And then next comment is, when is the next? This is from Dad. Says, when is the next FC25, Ozzie? I might do one next week. There's no show tomorrow, but I'm not sure if I'll be available to do anything. If if there is any transfer news, breaking news in terms of contract extensions, I might do impromptu show. It might be a random time like this, but it'll depend on when the news breaks. So if there is anything that comes out where I feel like I need to come on live and speak to you guys, then I will do so. Nothing scheduled for tomorrow, but we'll probably do something regarding FC25 next week. So yeah, just be on the lookout for it. Hopefully, we'll get something lined up very soon. And Daz's final comment here is, if you were Slot, would you miss Harvey on Saturday? No. From what I saw today, I still feel like he's lacking match fitness, but I will definitely make sure he gets more minutes. 10, 15 minutes for me is not enough. He probably needs to get around 20, 30 minutes under his belt and then slowly get him up to that speed so he's able to play from the beginning of matches. So no, I wouldn't risk him. I'd probably start him against the Southampton game, but it'll just depend on, what happens this weekend, and hopefully touch with no injuries or anything to that nature. So yeah, I wouldn't risk him, but I definitely feel like he needs to be thoroughly involved in the upcoming games. So that is the final comment. I can see that we have a corner back. So let me bring him on. And that is Jay Kismet. Jay Kismet, how you doing, bro?
I'm all good, bro. How you doing?
All good, thank you. Yeah, the floor is yours, my friend.
Nice. That's right. I've been had a long time. I had a football chat about Liverpool.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
to, yeah, long time.
Wow.
Good day, bro. 1-0 away. Played in second gear and
Yeah,
no injuries. And I think Allison and Harvey Elliott getting minutes. Very good as well. I think
yeah.
Allison was probably our best player. Like the saves he
He
made, a
was.
few of them.
Yeah,
You can't go wrong there. So for me, it was good to see him come back and straight away showed the world how good he is. But I'm
yeah.
happy with the 1-0. I'll take that all day.
I always find it refreshing to speak to you because I feel like with some parts of our fan base, it can be a bit toxic because I thought I always had a feeling that this was going to be the type of performance where we're not going to be playing free for football. It's going to be where we keep it professional and just get the job done. And that's exactly how it panned out. I predicted 2-0, but it ended up being 1-0. But
Mhm.
the alignment was still there in terms of I'm not expecting a lot of goals. I'm expecting us to get the job done. And some fans are not happy with how that happened because I'm not sure if they're expecting champagne football every time we play. Uh, but I thought we did a decent job. I do feel like there are parts of our game where they definitely exploited us. So they hit us on a counter attack a lot of times, especially on our right hand side. So I thought Trent wasn't on top of his game today. Joe Gomez I actually thought didn't do bad, but he was exposed a couple of times himself. So who
I
would you
think,
say were stand-up
yeah.
performers today?
Can you say that again, bro?
I say who would you say were like stand-up performers in the Liverpool team today?
Like for me, I was really happy with Gomez. I think he was the
So,
main guy at the back. He was doing like most interceptions. So I
yeah.
think when you compare that game and the Man City game compared to that one he had against Newcastle, like worlds
Yes.
apart, it's mad.
Yeah.
But I think that sometimes happens. It can happen in a game where everything you try to do don't work out, and I think like you see Gomez's quality today. I just felt like he was the main guy at the back who was just sort of bringing calm to situations.
Yeah.
Um, Also for me, Gravenberch back to like sort of his best. I think he played
Yeah.
pretty well.
Yeah.
Sabatzlai also, I think Sabatzlai played pretty good. He didn't do
Yeah.
nothing big, but he just kept it tidy and kept it moving. Curtis
Right.
also better. I just
Mm,
felt like today was a game where we weren't really going at it, like
yeah.
100 miles per hour sort of second half. We kept it in second, third gear all game. Very good. I think we
Yeah.
needed that after letting in 5 goals in 2 away games. Keeping a
Yeah.
clean sheet. Proper happy with that.
Yeah. Back to basics. I think. Yeah, I agree. I think it's very important for us to. We don't have to go all guns blazing in every game. I feel like when you do that, then you're making players burn out very quickly, and then Arne Slot isn't very. He's not in favor of rotating the squad quite heavily, so he normally sticks to having his best players all the time. So if you've got that kind of way of playing or coaching or have that as a philosophy, then you've got to manage games a certain way. So I feel like that's one of his strong points where his game management skill is really good. Like he'll deploy certain tactics in certain games where we can take like a step back and just see how the game goes on. We don't need to go 100 miles per hour all the time because it's a bit
Hmm.
unnecessary at times. Like if we did that in this game and then we were knackered against Fulham, then it's pointless, right? Because then we're dropping
Yeah.
points in the league table as well. So, what's your thoughts on the upcoming game against Fulham? How are you feeling about that one?
Blessed does in the chat. I'll quickly say something about Slot. You got to understand that Slot's coming to England for the first time, and he don't know these teams.
Yeah,
Hence why first half cautious, second half lets his hair down, even though he hasn't got any.
I
Uh,
like that.
and that's what it is with him. I feel like he lets the first half happen as it is, so he can learn
Yeah,
about the opposition as such. And then
yeah,
in the second half, half time, he does this little chit chat with the players, and then bang, we sort of improve. And then that's
mm,
why I think he's doing it. And I think he'll take notes. Okay, Everton, not Everton, Newcastle play like this. Like we
yeah,
got them again, Newcastle at home next time. He'll know how they played against us, so he's getting to
yeah.
learn the English teams.
Yeah, he still gets nightmares about Nottingham Forest. Keeps on mentioning it every here and there. So, but no, it's true. And that's the good thing about Arne Slot right now for me, because it is his first time in the Premier League. It's his first time, getting used to English football. But the way he's hit the ground running is literally surpassed, I think, anyone's expectation. Even if you
Yeah.
were regarded as a big Arne Slot fans, which I don't know that many in terms of from the Liverpool fan base, he surpassed everyone's expectations. And right now, he's literally just touching like the surface right now. There's a lot more to come in terms of his coaching, embedding his philosophy in the team, because tactically the players have responded very well, but I still feel like there's levels ahead. There's so many gears that this team can achieve. So this is just the beginning. So that is a warning to sign to a lot of teams in England and across Europe, because once we hit the ground running with sort of 100% understanding of his philosophy, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, he's able to add some more players to his squad. He only got Chiesa in the summer. Once he's able to add a few more players to his squad, then I feel like we'll be cooking next year. In my opinion, I think this year, what is your expectation? Because Abdul, big up Abdul, asked me earlier on,
Bless Abdul.
how many trophies do I see us Liverpool winning? I didn't give a clear cut answer, because I feel like there's certain competitions where you have to see who you're drawn with. So luck plays a part in terms of your pathway to the final. What would be your feelings towards the competitions that we're in right now? Do you feel like we're going to win all of them, or at this stage, what would you say is your prediction in terms of winning trophies right now?
I want to win all of them.
Of
I
course,
feel Southampton and Accrington Stanley are two teams we can take care of to get to the next round of them two cups.
yeah,
For me, both the Premier League and Champions League, right now, we're on top of each table.
yeah,
Not to say that, but it is what it is.
yeah. Facts.
And we seen what happened last season, I reckon, around the January, February time. We sort of ran out of steam. Like we
Yeah,
were going for everything around January time. We were like really playing well. Endo was playing well for us, hence why we were doing well. I always say
yeah,
that. Endo was the guy. But for me, expectations now, I want to win the Premier League and the Champions League. Those two right there. If I had to choose out the four, if you only can pick two, I'm picking them two, of course.
yeah,
League Cup is cool. I like the League Cup because it's early, the finals early. You got a trip to Wembley.
mm,
The players really enjoy the League Cup. If you've seen like what's happened
yeah,
over the years with Klopp,
yeah,
like I think players sort of look forward to that League Cup because it's not so serious. Serious, you win it, you win it. If you don't, you don't.
yeah. True.
And it's a bit of a warmer to get like a warmer for the Champions League final if it happens, the FA Cup, and also the Premier League running. So for me, I
Mm,
like the League Cup.
yeah. No, I agree. I think with the League Cup, it's always nice to get that early trophy, because obviously the finals played in Feb, March. So it's always nice to get that one under the belt. And I also feel like when you win that trophy, some people won't, you know, hold it with high regards, but I do feel like winning trophies gives you a different kind of mentality as a squad. It gives you a winning mentality, because now when you've won one trophy, you want to win more, right? So then you're in the FA Cup, you're in these other competitions. So it only embeds well for the team going forward. And also, I feel like with the Carabao Cup, the whole squad is more involved, because we're rotating a lot more
Yeah,
heavier. So
yeah,
it feels like everyone's been a part of it. Everyone's played to some extent. The squad players or the youth players, they've played the early rounds, and then as we get closer to the end in terms of the finals and the semi-finals, the stronger players. So everyone's played a part. So as a collective, it's more of a nicer feeling that they've won that trophy. So I agree. I don't mind that League Cup trophy. I feel like a cup is a cup. If we're talking
yeah,
pre-season cup, that's irrelevant, because those are not competitive competitions. But during the season, I still regard it as a competition.
yeah,
Um, for me right now, I've got a gut feeling. I'm being a bit shameless to say that I think we are going to win the league. Champions League as well. I feel like we have a very strong chance of winning the Champions League. It just depends on our next rounds in terms of who we face in the quarterfinals and all that sort of stuff. And then, I don't fear anyone, if I'm being honest. I'm not saying that, with arrogance or anything like that. I just feel like we have an answer for every team, because we're not one dimension. We're not just playing one type of football. We're very much equipped to playing against different types of opposition and playing a different way of football if necessary. So for me, I feel like we're in a great position right now. You mentioned, we normally burn out during that Feb March period.
Mm-hmm.
But that's under Jurgen Klopp. Do you think it'll be different this time around under Arne Slot because we're not playing that same
Full
level of
power.
intensity? We're
Mm-hmm.
playing with a bit more of a calmness and we're a bit more measured
Mm-hmm.
in our approach. Do you think it'll be different this year around?
I think so because of energies of how both managers play football. Like when you look at Klopp, he
Yeah,
wants to get the job done in 20 minutes of the first half. Slot wants to get the job done in the second half.
true.
So you got that sort of equation there, and I feel because of the way Slot sort of understands the players because he played himself as well, and so did Klopp. I just feel like Slot's not going full pelt with
Mm,
the players, and because of that. Van Dijk is playing every game. Him and Gravenberch have played every game in the Champions League, every minute of it.
yeah.
Why? Because I think Slot sort of chills them out, you know. For me, I love Klopp's football. If I had to choose between the two, I prefer Klopp's. It's a
Yeah,
bit more exciting and a bit
yeah,
more bang bang and
yeah.
job
End
done,
to
you know.
end.
I like that.
Yeah,
But for me, Slot's sort of looking after the players in that way. I'm just not going 100%, 100 miles per hour every game.
yeah,
And that's why you get a lot of clean sheets with Slot. It's a bit more paced, timed sort of way of
yeah,
football. I
yeah,
like it in that way as well. I like it. I prefer Klopp's way, but Slot's sort of system sort of working. You
yeah.
can't moan. You can't moan.
It has a bit more of a measured approach. It's definitely not.
Yeah,
We're not playing for now. We're playing for the long term.
exactly.
That's how I feel like
Hmm.
that's his philosophy and that's the way he plays. So, do you think do you think we're going to get any players in the January window?
That's the $1,000 million question. I can't really see us buying anyone again. I feel we haven't been really in the transfer world for the last 2 years.
No,
Nothing really. Chiesa came in last January. I wanted another DM. Okay, we were shouting for Andre, and Andre hasn't been really great for Wolves.
no.
But we needed a DM to just look after our midfield sort of role, where Endo was playing really well. As
Yeah,
soon as Endo got ill or injured,
yeah,
we sort of crumbled. And I realised this January now coming up, I'm not going to get my hopes too high. It just feels like that Zubimendi story's always been there. Oh, is he coming? Is he going? This, that, and the other. So for me, I don't think that sort of transfer will ever happen.
yeah,
Um, I just feel no, I can't really see us buying anyone. But if it happens, yeah, we need another guy in midfield. Like I was asked this question earlier on 12 Man Show.
yeah.
If we could buy anyone, who would you go for in January? One player and stuff. Do we need a centre back? Okay, he should be back by December, at the end of December, hopefully.
Yeah.
So that's about 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So he will come back into it. I just feel like a little midfield player coming
Yeah.
in. I'll be really happy with that. Attacking wise, we're going to get goals. Yeah, Salah gets majority of them. But there's goals in Gapco, Diaz.
Yeah.
There are goals in them. They can score goals, bro. So I'm
Mm,
not really worried about the attacking side of it. Defense, we've
mm,
got three centre backs: Kwanzaa, Gomez, and Virgil right now. Them three have to look after the situation until Konate comes back.
yeah.
You know, Gomez, two world class, like sort of top class displays in 3 games.
Yeah.
Not bad. So for me, Gomez is doing what he needs to get done. So I'm not really worried about that. Jota's coming back now. Alisson came back today in that game
Mhm.
yesterday about against
Girona.
Girona.
Yeah.
You know, Girona. So and Harvey Elliott coming back as well. So them two
Yeah.
guys coming back, cool.
Yeah. No, I think you're spot on. If I was to put in a spot, which midfielder do you think is a realistic signing for January? Or who would you prefer? Because I know some fans will say Zubimendi, but I've expressed my views on Zubimendi. I just don't think it's a realistic option. I just feel like there's too many factors involved for him to move over.
Mm-hmm.
From a personal point of view, and a lot of clubs have tried to recruit him, and you know, teams within Spain. It's not even just like a thing about staying back home. He just doesn't want to leave his boyhood club, which
Yeah.
it's fair enough. If that's the way he wants to play it, he has every right to do that because when you grow up and you want to play football, you do want to play for your boyhood club, right? So if
Yeah.
you're doing that, you might not have ambitions to play for other clubs, and that's just how it goes sometimes. So I don't really have any issues or any sort of qualms about that. But from a Liverpool point of view, I just feel like we need to move on and try and find another target. Is there anyone
Mhm.
that you have in mind that you feel like maybe, Liverpool can go for him?
Oh, this is what I was saying. Like I've been saying it for a while now.
Mm,
When you look at football as a whole, the bigger picture. Remember the
yeah,
old days where if you needed a manager, there's about five guys out there you can go straight for, and yeah, they're big time.
yeah.
Strikers, number nines, and centre backs. You had loads of centre backs and centre forwards
Yeah,
who are top class, bro. They're all gone. Where are they?
there's hardly any number nines around
They're
nowadays.
not.
Yeah, it's so true.
It's mad, and the influx of people coming into the world of football has like really gone up really a lot. A lot of
Mm,
people are involved in football now around the world. Like when you look at all the countries that are
yeah,
represented in the Premier League alone, so there's people out there to play football. But I can't really say when you look at centre backs. Virgil van Dijk is the only guy I can say, yeah, he's the guy
yeah,
I would want to buy. No one else. Who else is there? Look at that guy. Tottenham, United brought Loro.
yeah,
He played. I tell you the truth, he looks all right. I've seen a few clips of him. Like I was watching the game the other day and stuff. But
yeah.
still, that's what you're paying big money for that.
Yeah, they paid about 60 mil for him, so
Yeah,
he's only 18 years old. But yeah, no, most definitely, he definitely has potential to be
yeah,
a
good
top player.
player.
But I just feel like United is a springboard for him to just to go to Real Madrid because Real Madrid was the club that was destined to sign him, but they just didn't
Uh
want to
huh.
pay the money, which I don't blame them for walking away because that 60 million for 18-year-old who had a year left in his contract. Yeah, it's
Okay.
wild. It's wild. So
They'll probably just let his contract run out with United and then
yeah,
go and get him. That's what they do normally. They're very good at that. Why? They're Real
yeah,
Madrid. You know what I mean? You want to go and play
yeah,
for them.
of
So
course.
yeah, and
No,
at the
it's
same
true.
time, he's getting experience at
Yeah.
United.
Yeah,
But
that's it.
it's
That's it. Because he's only 18. So even if he played there for about 3, 4 years,
yeah.
he'll be 22. Perfect age to go over to Real Madrid. So no harm in that
Hmm.
at all.
Look, we're talking about centre backs. What do you think of Kwanzaa? Like I always said about Kwanzaa
Mm.
and say Doak and Carvalho, they all have this sort of attitude face. You know, this face that they have.
Yeah.
Where Doak and Carvalho, I've seen them so stroppy looking. I'm thinking, not good. Kwanzaa's had it this season on a few
Yeah.
occasions, hence why he looked a bit iffy. I would say this season. Last
Yeah.
season he finished off really well.
Yeah.
Hence why he was starting this season, that first game against Ipswich. But other than that, I think attitude, when their attitude isn't right,
Yeah.
um, it can jeopardise their thing. That's why for me, centre backs are not really worried about the future because I believe
Mm.
Kwanzaa's got it in him to be big
Yeah.
time. I
Yeah.
see it in him. He's the one guy I would say can replace Van Dijk. Very similar sort of in their play as well. But I just
Mm.
think he's a young guy. He's going to be in the world and stuff, and like
Yeah.
he can jeopardize his future. He could be one of the best centre backs in the world, Kwanzaa. I ain't just hyping him up. I've
No,
seen him play when he
mm.
started off, when he's played really well.
No, you're spot on. He's definitely got the potential. I think with the three players you mentioned, with regards to Ben Doak, do you know what? I haven't seen him in an interview because when you see an interview of a player, you can
Hmm.
kind of see their personality. So I've never seen him speak, to be honest with you. But in terms of the way he presents himself, that he seems stroppy. It
Hmm.
might just be his face. That's just that's just his persona. So it might not be his. It might not be that's how he's feeling. It's just that his face is showing another emotion, and we're just seeing it as we're seeing it the wrong way, kind of thing. So I don't know about Ben Doak.
Hmm.
I still feel like he's got a future at the club. The way he's ripping up the
Top player.
championship with Middlesbrough right now, I feel like
Yeah.
he needs to be given a chance. In pre-season next year.
Yeah.
And if Arsenal thinks like he's a worthy player to have on the bench or in the squad, I feel like he needs to be given a chance, or maybe
Yeah.
another loan spell because he's very young. He's only 18 years old, so he definitely has I would say, a big future ahead of him. In terms of Carvalho, Carvalho is a funny one because I do feel like there might be a hint of arrogance about him. Obviously, I don't know, but
Hmm.
I can't say face value, but there has been, where he's had interviews, he's made comments saying that, oh, I should be playing. Like, you're playing for Liverpool Football Club. So with Liverpool, you can't just expect to be on the bench even. Like it's not given. You have to really work hard and showcase your talent, not even just on the pitch when you make your cameos. You got to do it from training and how you carry yourself as well. So Liverpool is a different kettle of fish. You can't just expect to just be in the team because you feel like you're that guy. It doesn't work like that. So his work ethic and his mentality was questioned at the club. Jurgen Klopp tried to play it down and said, no, he's working hard, but I feel like he was just protecting him at the time. But he's gone over to Brentford. I think they had a 0-0 draw against Everton, and his dad wrote a post saying that, "Oh, son, you need to leave the club." So it could also be influenced within the family that are not giving him right advice, because you look at Jude Bellingham, his parents are doing a phenomenal job in terms of spearheading his career, because right now he's on top of the world, and that's come from the parents, because when he was at Birmingham, he was very close to signing for, I think Chelsea waiting for him, and Manchester United were close to signing him, but they thought they weren't the right fit for their son, because he needed to go to a club where he could develop. So with youngsters, development is key. You got to be in the right surrounding to really flourish. Liverpool, for me, and I'm not just being biased because we're Liverpool fans, is a great club for youngsters, and that has been proof over the years that we give our youngsters opportunities. So I think with Kwanzaa, it's just keeping his head down, stop getting involved in too much outside nonsense as well. Leave the girls aside and just focus on your football, because that stuff is coming out in the public now, and it can change the perception of a player. Some fans might not look at him seriously now and just see him as a little kid, like, oh, he needs to go up. But it might just be, whatever he does behind the scenes is up to him. But I feel like as a professional, you've got to carry yourself a certain way, especially when you represent Liverpool Football Club. You do anything crazy in the background, it could come out light and showcase in front of the walls. So for me, it's not ability. It's not a question about ability. We saw it last season. He has the ability.
Yeah,
I
man.
feel like it's more of a mentality thing to accept as well that, I'm not going to just walk into a team right now. I need to really work hard, and also take on board that you've got Van Dijk in the squad, one of the most amazing defenders of the modern day. Learn from him, because he might not be at the club for long. I don't want to put that anything out there, but he might not be at the club this season, after this season, So, be a sponge, learn off these guys,
Exactly.
take their professionalism and put it in your game. Because I know that's what Salah did with Harvey Elliott. He took him under his wing and said, look, follow me in terms of your food, in terms of your diet, do what I do, and then you'll see the benefits. And then from there on, you saw a resurgence in Harvey Elliott's game, where he came really, really well. So for youngsters, it's about staying grounded and learning off people around you. And we've got great role models in our team as well. So it's not like we've got players that are just doing. We ain't got a team of Jack Grealish. It's not like that. So we've got a team that are professional, level-headed, and can really help the youngsters going forward. So with regards to Doak, I feel like he has a future. Kwanzaa just needs to stay focused and concentrate on his game. And Carvalho, I wish him the best, but I feel like he just needs to find a club that suits his game, and he's able to. And I think Brentford's a good club, but he's obviously the mentality might not be there. So it's very interesting to see how his career flourishes. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But in terms of what we were talking about earlier on, the transfers, I agree. I feel like we just need to get one more midfielder. I obviously in an ideal world, I'd love to get a centre back, and I'd like us to get a new striker. But I feel like you got to be realistic as well, especially if we're honest. These are positions that will probably be addressed in the summer, not in the January window. Right now, if we sign anyone in January, it's players to add on top of our squad. So right now, I feel like a DM is a must. You said we needed one last January. I feel like we've been on for like 2-3 years, if I'm being honest with you. It's a position we've just not addressed. And they always make it seem like there's no one out there. There are players out there. It's just that John Henry doesn't want to pull out his wallet and spend big on certain players, right? So I don't know who like. So Mendy was reportedly a 50 million deal. So there's clearly money in the bank for us to acquire a player of that kind of fee. I've mentioned Varela, but I don't know how realistic that is for a January move, because in this time of the year, especially Portuguese teams, they always add like 10-20 million on top of their players' value. So you're probably going to get ripped off if you really want that player.
Yeah.
Ederson, I watched him earlier today against Real Madrid. He looked decent today, so he's a player that can definitely fit the bill. He'll be a player where I feel like he needs to be a player that isn't expected to just walk in the team. Someone that's going to be cover, but in the long term can play in the first team. So Ederson would fit the mode for me, where he can play in a double pivot, but can also play as an 8 and a bit more further up. So he's an all-rounder, kind of like a McAllister, who can play 6, 8, and a number 10. So I think he'd be a bit more of a realistic option. And look, if Richard Hughes is that guy, put your money where your mouth is, because he's got a lot of ties and connections with Atalanta. He used to play there back in the day in his youth days. So, I know you got your connections there. So if there is any truth to the rumors of us being linked with that player, show us that you can acquire him. So I really hope we get some new additions in January. But I'll be honest with you, I don't see it happening. I'm just being a realist. The proof isn't in the last few January windows. We have signed players, don't get me wrong. But because United wanted to get Gakpo, so that was our summer signing. We need to get him now. Luis Diaz, Spurs are close to agreeing a deal. We need to get him now because that was our summer signing. He was supposed to be the money replacement. So we've only done it based on reaction that they're taking our target.
Just in case,
It's not calculated. You know what? Arnold's doing amazing. He hasn't got this player. Let's help him out. Let's get this player on board.
Yeah.
Let's hope I'm talking complete rubbish and FSU prove me wrong and we get 2 players in the window. I'd be happy to go live and tell you guys, look, I was wrong. But in the past, it hasn't been the case. The owners have never shown ambition. So, I'm just going based on record rather than, what I'm hoping or what I'm dreaming about in that sense. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah, of course. And I always say, to people, John Henry is not a football guy. He's all about the figures and stuff, but that guy sometimes don't realize success on the pitch brings success off the pitch. Is the most business move you can do in football. It just makes common sense and stuff. And I think sometimes he just don't see it like that. It's like, come on, man. You own Liverpool Football Club. You look at our history, what we won. You wouldn't have bought Liverpool Football Club if you didn't do your homework about them, who they are, And he's made a lot of money out of Liverpool Football Club, and if he sold it tomorrow, he'll make a lot of money. So for me, life is about you got to make your money and stuff, but do it nicely. Keep everyone happy, the players, because if Virgil and that see a big signing coming into the dressing room in January. Like an Edison, for example, or a OZWRLD. They're like, let's go. Got this guy on board as well now. That's that's another thing as well. When the other top players joining the movement, they're like, yep, these guys we mean business now. We've got a guy in who can do a job. We know this guy. Sorted.
No, that is a very important statement there, because I keep using this word. I feel like whenever I speak about FSG, I always use this word, ambition. They've never shown ambition as owners, and you alluded to them being very solely focused on revenue. And I don't want to sound stereotypical, but that is how American owners are. And I'm not saying in terms of football. I'm talking about American owners in sports in the US, because it's very much heavily driven on revenue,
profit making,
having sponsorship deals, having advertising all around. Like you watch certain sports every 5-10 minutes, there's an ad about a brand. It's just how it is there. So it's very heavily focused on promoting different brands and having partnerships, and that's where the revenues generate. It's not been solely generated on our success, because that's just another thing for them. If they're able to form partnerships with other brands and get millions from that, they're going to be their main focus. So I feel like going forward, they just need to show, even if it's a tiny bit of ambition, they need to do it, because we've got Virgil van Dijk, we've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, and we've got Mohamed Salah, who are close to having their contract expiring in the next few months. But if Liverpool are able to acquire players in January that are, I'm not saying they have to be £100 million players, because that might not be realistic, and that's fair enough. But if it's quality players and they're like, you know what? The owners are showing a bit of ambition. They've just signed 2 players when at least people expected them to. And these are good players. They'll definitely help us with our charge of winning trophies this year. And I feel like that is going to be a key. And so I can't say it with a lot of chess, but with Trent with Van Dijk and Salah, I feel like they will extend on the basis that of their current age and Van Dijk being the captain and Mohamed Salah
Mm-hmm.
breaking records left, right, and center. I think Salah wants to continue building his legacy in the Premier League, and I think Van Dijk wants to continue leading this team going forward.
Yeah.
Trent is my concern, and I'm not saying I don't. That's not me saying I want to get rid of Trent because I want Trent to stay 100%. My concern with Trent is that he might not believe that this team is ambitious enough. But this might have
Okay.
been more of a summer point of view. Right now, we're on top of the league, so we're doing well. But if players aren't coming through the door, he might still have that in the back of his mind that, you know what, FSC, they don't really back the manager. Like, we've got great players here, but they don't really get backed in terms of acquiring new players. When I go to Real Madrid, look, if he goes to Real Madrid, they will try and sign the best player every summer. That is always their goal. That's always their aim. So that's the one I have concerns. Now, in terms of, before we close this up, but in terms of the contract extensions, because that is the big talking point every single week, and you know that as well.
Mm-hmm.
What is your feeling about it? Because the recent speculation is that they've all been offered contracts. That doesn't mean they're going to sign. If you had to make a prediction, who do you think will extend? Will it be 1, 2, or all three?
I just got a funny feeling, all three.
Hope you're right. Yeah.
You know why? I've had this feeling for a while. Hence why I don't get really involved in the like speculation by like content creators.
Oh, yeah.
Are they gonna
Yeah.
sign and this, that, and that? Just the feeling and stuff.
Yeah.
And also, it's like what you just said as well. Like age-wise, Salah and Virgil, do they really want to like uproot their roots where they are? They've been at Liverpool for a long time now. Kids probably go to school there, this, that, and the other, and stuff. Then they got offered the chance to live another 2, 3 years there. They'll take it up, I think.
Yeah.
Virgil could play for Real Madrid. Salah could play for Real Madrid, no doubt. Even Trent.
Yeah.
I just feel like Trent situation at the three is probably the hardest to sort out. Maybe ambition. What you just said as well. Ambition. Like, do the owners, do this club who I support as a kid have enough ambition for what I want in football and that? Over the years, you can't really say they have. You know what I mean? So So that's the only thing. Worry about that situation.
The Trent one's a funny one because I think in the summer, and I wasn't trying to put this energy out there, I just had a feeling that he would go to Real Madrid. I just feel like the energy, everything was like aligning for him to move there. And also with a new coach coming in. And do you remember in the early seasons where, he had a couple of issues with Arne Slot where he's dropped off the pitch when he got substituted? Like, he had a couple of moments with Arne Slot where, it didn't look like he was enjoying his time. But obviously, it's going to show that, Arne Slot has been very measured and calculated with him in terms of letting him know that, look, you're a great defender, but you need to work on certain positions in terms of how you're defending one-on-one duels, and that is going to elevate your game. And it has, in my opinion. So maybe because of that kind of one-on-one training or that one-on-one advice, it might sway his opinion of Arne Slot. But at the same time, when you've got a coach that's just come in from a different country and he's hit the ground running the way he is right now, you might see, you know what, this guy's special. Because not a lot of managers can do what Arne Slot. And I feel like a lot of fans in our fan base are taking for granted because this was unexpected what Liverpool are doing right now. Yes, we hope and dream for this kind of thing where we're top of the Champions League, we're top of the table, this and that. But it's not always a reality, So I feel like Trent could be swayed, but it could just be a thing where he signs a contract but still will have ambitions of leaving in the future, where let's say, Arne Slot doesn't deliver the way, we're kind of forecasting right now. That way, he's appeased the fans by signing a contract now, but then maybe in the future, he's like, you know what, this club hasn't met my ambitions. I have to move on. And I feel like I'm just kind of like forecasting the future. I'm trying to be Mystic Oz here, but I feel like if that was the case, the fans wouldn't be as upset with him if he left. If he didn't feel like the club were meeting his ambitions. If he was to leave now, I feel like it could affect his legacy a little bit, in my opinion, because of his age and his profile. He hasn't, as crazy as it sounds, he hasn't even touched his peak, in my opinion. He still has levels to achieve.
Exactly.
So That will really hurt for me if Trent goes. I'm really hoping that's not the case. I feel like with Trent one, my stance is kind of been like, do you know what? He may stay. So I'm kind of like you. I'm envisioning kind of all three of them to be, Liverpool players for years to come. But in this day and age, you just never know. And I agree in terms of like content creators, but also just speculation when you see social media. Don't read
Mm-hmm.
into it because one day you're getting told one thing, the next day you're getting told another. So
Exactly.
we don't know. And let's be honest, no one knows unless you're part of those boardroom meetings and like you're affiliated with those clubs from an agency point of view, you're not going to know. So, or if you're related to them or for them through friends and family, whatever, you'll never know. So let's hope. Let's hope and pray that these guys extend their contracts. But Jake Kismet, thank
Mm-hmm.
you for coming on the show.
No
Always a
problem,
pleasure
bro.
to talk to you.
You're
Very
welcome. Mm-hmm.
level-minded Liverpool fan. So I always appreciate you coming on and speaking your mind. So yeah, big up yourself, and yeah, hopefully we'll speak again very soon.
Take care, bro.
Take care, bro. Speak to you soon. Cheers. Big up JK. As always speaking from a level-minded perspective. I always like speaking to him. Just going to go through some of the comments, and we'll close the show. Let's start here. Let's start with Abdul. So Abdul says we must cease drawing and losing in the EPL and maintain a winning streak. Chelsea, Arsenal, and Messi on our tails. They are. And Chelsea is definitely surprised. I did predict early on in the season that I feel like Chelsea are going to be a dark horse. They're going to really surprise us. And they're doing that. And I think they probably surpassed my expectations. I thought they were going to challenge the top four rather than the title. But, I have to be honest, I feel like they're title contenders. Um, they've been probably playing one of the best like football in the league. Liverpool are playing good football, don't get me wrong, but I feel like in terms of having eye-catching moments and bangers coming from left to right, obviously Cole Palmer is probably one of the main reasons for that. They're playing some good football. I wouldn't go far as saying that he's been the best player in the last 18 months, as to what Jamie Carragher alluded to on Sky Sports. I completely disagree. I think he's forgotten Mohamed Salah. It probably feels like he plays a different sport or something, but no. Definitely disagree with that statement. But in regards to Chelsea, yep, for me, they're title contenders. Arsenal and Man, look, don't disregard Man City just because they've had a terrible November where they've hardly won any games. They'll be back. They'll be back. So they'll be challenging. I don't think they'll win. They'll definitely be in the top four. They'll be challenging for second and third. So no, we've got a lot to deal with over the months. And we just got to focus on ourselves. We're on top right now. Keep looking forward, and hopefully we continue with our wins and continue with our stride to winning more trophies this season. So yeah, that is the hope, that is the aim, that is the ambition. Abdul says EFL Cup, FA Cup, and UCL game by game basis. 100% agree with that one. Abdul says to secure Premier League title, an early points lead is crucial with the highest points total ultimately determining the champion of the EPL. We must prioritize avoiding draws, losses home and away. 100%. But for me, the key factor of us winning the league is keeping our squad fit and healthy. That is the key. So that's why we've been speaking about acquiring new players in the January window. I feel like it's so important to how our season is going to unfold. Even another midfielder, I'll be happy with that. I'll be very honest with you. I'll be happy with another midfielder because I feel like that is the area we really need to add to our squad. Left back, centre back, striker. I don't mind addressing that in the summer, but the centre mid or slash CDM role that needs to be addressed in my opinion. So your point is very valid, but I feel like injuries will definitely play a part in terms of how well we do because right now we've been sensational in the first half of the season. Doesn't mean that's going to be replicated in the second half, and that could be down to form, down to injuries or whatnot. We have to keep our foot on the ground. But let's see. The signs are there in terms of we're hopefully going to have a very fruitful season in terms of winning trophies. But only time will tell. And Abdul says failure to invest in our current team could jeopardize our performance in both league and cup competitions. 100% agreed. No team goes throughout season without picking up injuries. It's just part of the game. It's part of nature. We're all human, so we are going to get burnt out or pick up injuries here and there. Right now, I feel like we have such great quality in our squad. We're able to manage injuries here and there, but that's just one or two injuries in certain positions. What if we have two injuries in one position? how are we going to address that? So that's the key. So that's why for me, a midfielder will just strengthen that department even further. Attack-wise, we've got great players that can play in attack. We've got 6 bona fide attackers, and we've got other players in midfield that can play in those roles. Like Szoboszlai can play on the wings. We've got Curtis Jones that can play on the left. Harvey Elliott can play on the right wing if required. So there's other players that can come into those positions. It's in terms of defensively, we've got Tsimikas, Robertson, 2 left backs there. Joe Gomez can play left back if required. We've got Trent and Bradley and Gomez, the player that can play in different roles. He can play right back. Centre back, we've got 4. You probably argue and say maybe we need another centre back. Might not be necessary, in my opinion. So yeah, I do feel like if we're able to get a CDM, that will definitely play a role. And then, look, worst comes to worst, if we had to play Endo at right back or even at centre back, that would be something we can do because he's a defensive-minded player. But we need another CDM. Endo isn't favoured by this coach whatsoever. Poor guy only gets 2-3 minutes every game. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we're able to acquire a new player in January or maybe acquire 1 or 2. Who knows? Let's see. Let's see how the weeks unfold. H, big up yourself. He says we will buy. Well, I'm praying H we do. I really hope we do. And then Abdul says, what is going to happen to Peter Luger, Ramsey, Reece Williams, Nat Phillips, Bashich, Doak, Morton, Endo, Harvey Davis, Yaros, McConnell, Norris, Ronald Young, Gordon, Trey Nioni, Owen Beck, and Scallon. So I'll give you my quick views on some of the players here. So Peter Luger, I don't think he's developed to the speed that they were expecting. So that's why he's going out on loan. It might just be where he's not the right fit for English football. Because I know as a goalkeeper, you're thinking, he's just supposed to be a shot stopper. But in English football, you have to be very dominant in the air. So that might not be one of his strong skill sets. So he might be more suited playing a different league where, you've got a bit more time on the ball because the other team or the opposition is not pressing aggressively. So, these factors can play a part. So for me, I don't feel like he's developed the way they wanted to or expected him to be doing right now. So he'll probably go out on loan and then we'll see from there. Ramsey, unfortunately, it's not down to ability. I feel like he does have a lot of potential, but it's just he's been picking up a lot of injuries. Whether he's gone out on loan, he's picking up injuries there. So unfortunately, that is hampering his development. So until he doesn't stay fit, I don't see him playing in a Liverpool shirt, if I'm being honest. Reece Williams, I just don't think he's good enough at this level for Liverpool. So he'll probably get a move elsewhere. We've been loaning him out to different clubs across the country, but he'll probably secure a permanent move, I would say, next summer, if I was to make a prediction. Same for Nat Phillips, very sort of solid defender and became a cult hero at one point. And, it gives us all and definitely a player that can play at a certain level, in my opinion. I just don't think it's at Liverpool. I would probably say down to, ball playing ability. I don't think it's at the highest level. He definitely puts his body on the line, but I feel like he's more suited for a different league or a different type of football. So just not for Liverpool, unfortunately. Bajcetic, interesting. He's on loan to Red Bull Salzburg. Salzburg's not having the best of times under Pep Linders. I'm not too sure on Bajcetic, if I'm being honest with you. I feel like when he made his performance for Liverpool, maybe he just came at a period where we were so terrible that anyone will look like a shining diamond in our team. And he just went through a purple patch. And because since then, we haven't really seen that kind of form. And obviously, he picked up quite a few injuries last season and not really had much game time. So I don't know. I have a feeling, I don't feel like he has a long-term future at the club. That's just my gut feeling right now. I feel like we'll probably move him on in the future. But it might change where he might come in pre-season and the coaching staff might feel like, what, he's actually evolved and he's actually going to step up going forward. So, but my inkling would be that I don't think he has a long-term future at the club. But I don't know. We'll see. Ben Dog, he's tearing up for Middlesbrough in the Champions League. I've seen some of the highlights. He looks really good. I still feel like he has a future at the club. So it'll just be based on how he performs when he returns from preseason next year. And yeah, we'll just take it from there. So I feel like he'll definitely have a chance to be in the first team next year. But we have a lot of players as well. We've got 6 attackers. So let's see. it might be another loan spell because he's only 18 years old, so another loan spell might do him good. Morton, I don't know. I think Morton will probably part ways next summer. He's not had much game time at all, and maybe he's a solid player, but maybe he's just not Liverpool level. So I don't see him having a long-term future at the club. But that's just based on this season because we don't really see much of him. So that would indicate that Arne Slot doesn't rate him that highly to play for the first team. Endo, yeah, unfortunately he'll probably part ways as well. He's just not an Arne Slot type of player. You see, he comes on for 5-10 minutes here and there. That's just pretty much cameos more than anything else. So, no, unfortunately, I don't think Endo will be at the club. I would say he'll probably leave next summer. But if he was to leave in January, that will present the idea for me that we're signing someone. So, let's see. I would rather add and then sell Endo in the summer window. But who knows? Let's see. But I just don't think he has a long-term future at the club. Harvey Davis, he'll probably go out on loan, see how it develops. We've got quite a few goalkeepers now, so it's not high on our agenda to promote one of the youngsters. We've got Mamadashvili coming through next year. Still got Kelleher. Obviously, his future will be highly discussed next year in terms of the summer window. We've got Yaros, who's a decent keeper in my opinion. So you've got good numbers there. So we've got about 4 keepers I just mentioned there. So Allison, Yaros, Kelleher and Mamadashvili. So 4 keepers there. So Davies will probably need to go out on loan and try and find a team that he can play first in football. And, if he's found his level, then he'll probably move on. But we'll see. McConnell. Oh, sorry, Yaros, I mentioned. Yeah. So Yaros, I feel like he'll stay at the club. So I think he has a future at Liverpool. Depends what is he number 2, is he number 3? I think he's more of a number 3. But he might want to move on elsewhere next summer because he was selected in the Euros for Czechia, also known as Czech Republic. So he might want to pursue and play first team football so he can become number 1 for Czech Republic. So for now, I think short term he's got a future at the club, but he may want to move on, kind of similar to Keller, as they have probably aspirations to be number 1 elsewhere. McConnell, good player. I do like him. I'm very tidy on the ball. I think he probably needs to go out on loan and see what level suits him and then just take it from there. Does he have a long-term future at the club? Unfortunately, I don't think he will. But I can definitely see him playing at a Premier League team or a Championship team. So, unfortunately, not a long-term future. Norris, I'll be honest, I don't have too much knowledge on Norris, so I can't really express my views on him. Same as Ranel Young. Gordon's just been unfortunate with picking up so many injuries. They're not even small injuries. They're like not career threatening, but they're long-term injuries. So that's definitely hampered his development. I don't think he has a future at the club. I think he'll probably move on playing probably at championship level, if I'm being honest, which is a bit, it's a bit of a shame because he did come with a lot of high prospect of being a very good player going forward. But that's what happens with youngsters, unfortunately. When they pick up injuries, their bodies are growing, they're evolving, and maybe they're just not tailored for a certain level of football, which is a shame. But yeah, that's my view on Gordon. Trent Yoni, for me, has a big future at the club. Whenever I see him play, he looks so impressive. I watched I think it was the under 21 games earlier. I think it was last week. I think it was against Reading. He looked very impressive in that one. So for me, he has a bright future. Can play in a double pivot quite comfortably. If he has to play a bit further up, he can do that role as well. In the number 10. So for me, yeah, long-term future at the club. Owen Beck, I'm not too sure on him, to be honest with you, because he's very highly regarded, but I don't know if he's Liverpool level. So for me, he's a question mark because he might have a great season this year and then, it might raise some eyebrows for the coach staff and they think, you know what, maybe we'll give him a chance. But I don't know with Owen Beck. He definitely has potential to do well in his career. Whether it's at Liverpool, I'm quite not so sure right now. And Scanlon for me is quite raw in terms of his playing ability. Has definitely good sort of speed in his game, good technique, but his tactical awareness isn't quite there at this stage of his career. So for me, a loan move will make a lot of sense. If we can get him at a championship club, I think that'd be fantastic for his development. whether he has a long-term future at the club, very early to say at this stage. But it will depend on what he does in terms of the next season. If he goes out on loan, does he progress or not? So yeah, for me, that will be based on what his next step is within his career. I definitely think a loan move needs to be done. And Abdul says Richard Hughes should get Edison from Atlanta Connect from 92 to 93. Yeah, he used to play there as a youth player. So yeah, if you've got your connections there, they call you the Notebook. You ain't opened it yet, so come on, sign some players now. I would say furthermore, given Richard Hughes' connection with AFC Bournemouth, we should pursue Milos Kerkez in left back position. I do like Kerkez, I'm not gonna lie. My personal choice, which you probably know, Abdul, is Jorel Hato from Ajax. I feel like he's a sublime player. But if I had to provide an alternative name, Kerkez will definitely be behind the list. I feel like he's more suited playing at left back than someone like Ait Nouri, who I really like as well. Ait Nouri is more of a proper wing back. Kerkez can play left back and wing back, so I feel like he's a bit more adapt to how we play. And he's also from the Dutch league, so I'm sure Arnstad would have come across him in the past. But yeah, definitely a player that I do like. I know it's a player that has been heavily scouted at the club. Abdul says FSG requires a significant investment, ambitious goals. Investment, I don't think they do enough. Ambition, they don't show it. So that's just how it is, unfortunately. But that is how they are. That is how they operate as a business. And look, who am I to tell them how to operate as a business? But as a football fan, I just feel like they don't have the ambition to try and solidify this club as a successful club. We are big, don't get me wrong, but I feel like we haven't won enough trophies over the years. I feel like we should have won more because we've been in finals and we've been in strong positions, but due to lack of numbers in the squad, I feel like that's been our downfall, where we've not been able to go into games, 100%. We've gone in there, battered and bruised a little bit and not able to fulfill our potential or play at a full capacity. So for me, that's something that's always been a downfall, and that comes from our owners end of the day. So yeah, let's see. Hopefully things change, but I'm not gonna have too many high hopes with regards to that. So yeah, that is it in terms of the comments. Big up everyone for contributing. Big up to Abdul, as always. Big up for your questions there. Big up to Daz. And big up to JK for coming on the show. Appreciate you calling in. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Sorry, also big up to H for your comment earlier on. In terms of upcoming content, so no shows scheduled for tomorrow. You never know if I see any breaking news or I see some transfers I want to talk about. I might do a transfer talk show, but that'll be a spontaneous one. So best thing to do is follow me on social. You can follow me at Ozzie.ftp on Instagram, and you can also follow me at Ozzie_FTP on X/Twitter. Also, make sure you hit that notification bell. So once I've uploaded a scheduled stream, you'll know what time I'm going live. So if I'm doing an impromptu show tomorrow, you should receive a notification if you've hit the bell. Thursday, I will be doing a match preview of Liverpool versus Fulham. I'll be joined by a special guest, so make sure to look out for that. And then the game is on Saturday, isn't it? So I'll be doing a watch along for that fixture, and then we'll do a match reaction later in the evening. So that is our scheduled shows for this week, and that is it for tonight. So thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to see you all on Thursday night. Goodbye.